Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Cecilia Thompson, and today I'll be sharing the research from my NOAA Hollings internship with the Northwest Fisheries Science Center. We conducted a passive acoustic assessment of vessel traffic in the summer habitat of the southern resident killer whale. In the Pacific Northwest, there are three ecotypes of killer whales: offshore, transient, and resident, which are genetically, physically, and acoustically distinct. The southern resident killer whale population is a part of the J clan, which consists of pods J, K, and L. This population is listed as federally endangered under the Endangered Species Act and depleted under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, with only about 70 individuals remaining. This population is suffering due to three main threats: reduced prey availability, contamination, and physical and acoustic disturbance such as vessel traffic, which is the main focus of this presentation. As ambient noise levels increase in the ocean, this poses a huge threat to odontocetes cetaceans such as southern resident killer whales that are heavily reliant on sound in their day-to-day lives. Vessels produce low to mid-frequency sounds that can mask southern resident vocalizations used in communication, foraging, and navigation. This disturbance can be chronic or acute and affects these animals in a number of ways. A previous study suggested that vessel noise can cause threshold shifts in hearing, reduce listening range, and impact behavior. The objective of this study was to eavesdrop, so to speak, on the vessel traffic in the summer habitat of the southern resident killer whale using passive acoustic monitoring. Acoustic recordings were collected on what is called a duty cycle, meaning that a 90-second file is recorded every 10 minutes at a 144 kilohertz sampling rate using a soundtrack recorder. The recorder was located in the inland waters of the Salish Sea along the coast of Washington State, which is in the corridor to all major ports of the Salish Sea. The recorder was deployed on July 23rd of 2019 and retrieved 3 months later on October 23rd of 2019. Acoustic files were manually inspected using the software program Raven Pro. Vessels were acoustically categorized by relative size, that being small and large vessels. Within each 90-second recording, the file was scored with a 1, indicating that vessels were present, or a 0, indicating that vessels were absent. Southern resident and other cetacean vocalizations were identified as well. In total, 91 days with 3.6 hours of recordings analyzed as a result of the duty cycle. In other words, approximately 15% of each 24-hour day was analyzed. In general, we found that larger vessels were detected more frequently than small vessels. This figure here shows the percent of total monitored time that vessels were present for each month. This figure below shows the percent of total detections for small versus large vessels for each month. In both figures, the light blue refers to small vessels and the dark blue refers to large vessels. In this figure, the green color refers to the percent of total monitored time where vessels were absent. From these results, it is evident that the soundscape in this area is dominated by large vessel traffic. However, I want to note that sampling bias may exist. The probability of detection is a function of both source level and passage duration. As larger vessels emit louder, more detectable sound that may mask that of smaller vessels and make longer, slower passes through the area, they may be larger, or they may be more detectable than smaller vessels. This recorder was the first of 6 deployed recorders to be retrieved and provides a narrow scope of analysis. The results of this study serve as a baseline for comparison in a larger project that will monitor trends of anthropogenic inputs of noise and compare noise exposure in critical southern resident habitat over space and time. A more comprehensive understanding of the threat of acoustic disturbance to southern resident killer whales plays a critical role in conservation and management. Future extensions of this study may include the Port of Vancouver expansion and Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion projects. Additionally, future studies could look at other inputs of anthropogenic noise, such as sonar activity, into southern resident habitat. I'd like to thank my Hollings mentors, Candace Emmons and Marla Holt, as well as a number of individuals from the Northwest Fisheries Science Center and Pacific Marine Environmental Lab for making this project possible. Thank you so much. And at this time, I can take any questions.